Hello and welcome to everyone to the first episode of the Web Elements series. And today we would be working on how to create image hover effects, such as this one. As we can see, whenever we hover over the image, it shows an image title and an image description. Today I would be teaching you how to create this. So let's begin. We'll first begin by adding the elements required to create it in the HTML tags. First, we would create a div that would contain the image, its title, and the description. And we would also close this tag for better working. Then we'll provide image its own div with the name image. Now it's time to add the image. As we are working on an online platform, so it is difficult to utilize any image that is inside the computer. So I would be using a link. As you can see, it adds any random image from the internet. And we would put an alternate as image. An image tag never requires a closing tag, which needs to be kept in mind whenever coding in HTML. Now we are creating a div for the overlay. Overlay would consist of the title and description that would be visible on hover. Now I would create another div which I would name overlay content. Content. Now I would give an h3, which is the heading tag, and I would write image title and close the tag. Now I would give a paragraph which is mostly used in HTML as the p tag, and it would consist of the image description. This is all the HTML we would require. Now it's the turn to write the CSS script. We can write CSS as an internal file inside the HTML or as an external file. As we are using CodePen, so the CSS page is already provided to us. So we can write image container. First, we need to keep the display to flex. Now I would justify the contents to center. And also align them to the center. Take note that I put a little space in between the hyphen and container, which made it incapable of applying the CSS. So take care of such mistakes. Now I would specify the height, which I would give 300 pixels. This height can be changed as per everyone. There is no such bounds to what height we need to use. Now we would change the properties for our image. First, we would make its position relative. Then we would specify the width and height. I would give the width of 300 pixels and a height of 200 pixels. Now we need to keep the overflow as hidden. Because the overflow hidden would hide the image title and description behind the image, so that we can later on make it appear on hover alone. We are keeping the width and height at 100%. It is not that necessary because we have currently used a link which is already producing an image of the required size we have entered in it. This is not necessary for those using CodePen, but if anyone is using Notepad or VS Code, then it would be beneficial to use these commands. Now we would put transition, which is a really important one because it kind of shows that what difference it will make when we hover on the image. And now we are going to change its property on hover alone. So we need to transform the scale a bit so that it zooms out whenever we hover over it. For a slight zoom in, we can put a value of 1.1. As we can see now, it's zooming out. One more benefit of the overflow hidden was that if it is removed now, then the image is coming out of the bounds we have given it. But when we put overflow hidden back, then image title and image description hides behind the image, as well as it isn't coming out of the provided bounds. And now we would work on the overlay to make it appear on hover alone and to provide some other functionality. We would fix its position to absolute so that it doesn't change on its own. But we would also put the top and left bounds at 0. And width to 100%, as well as the height to 100%. We would also make the image darker when it is hovered. So we would add the background color RGBA. RGBA is simply the value we need to add to color the image behind. That is showing the background. We just want to make it a little bit darker, so we can put all of them to 0 and put the value of A to 1.6. It will make the image darker, but only on hover, which we would do later on. And we can put the opacity at 0 to make it appear as the output product for now. Now we would again add the transition. This would define that in how much time the opacity will change on hover. Now we would provide the hover property to overlay also. Dot overlay. And now we would put the opacity at 1. As we can see, it is providing the finished output a little bit, except the image title and description that is still in the corner. Now we would fix it as we have provided the class name overlay content. So we will call the overlay content class and again put the position at absolute. Now we would put the bounds of top 50% and left 50%. And we would put a transform and translate it to minus 50% and minus 50%. Remember that in CSS we need to add semicolons. If there would be a command without semicolon, then it would not be taken by the computer and it would show no change in the finished output. Now we would do a text align center to bring the entire text in the center. As we can see, the text, image title and image description is in the center of the image now. Now we can give it a color. I would give it a color such as, we can give randomly any color as per the RGB index. So I would give FFF, which is white color. We can give any color such as we can also find these RGB colors from the internet by simply searching. Now we would simply change the properties for the heading tag alone. As we haven't provided any class to the heading tag, so we can simply write h3 because there is only one heading tag in the entire project. We can put the font size at 24 pixels. It can also be changed as required. And we can put the margin 0. As now we can see the image title font size has grown as we have provided it. And now we can do the same for the paragraph tag. We can simply copy or rewrite it. Now we can change the size to arbitrarily any value. Like I would go for 16. And we can also change the margin. I would go for 8 pixels. Now as we can see, we have got to our desired output. Here I wrote 8 pixels space 0 because 8 pixel would signify the margin we need to put on top and bottom, and the 0 signifies the margin on the left and the right of the paragraph tag. So simply we have created an image hover effect that is simple but quite impressive to use.